Hi there, I'm Dr. Chung and welcome to your friendly proctologist. On this channel we discuss the health of our bottom ends and I hope you can relate or learn a thing or two. Today I want to cover another big topic. It's called perirectal abscess, anal infection, anal abscess, rectal abscess, anal rectal abscess. It's got a lot of names for it, but you kind of get the tone of it that there is an infection or a pocket of infection around your bottom end. And that's really all the same words describing the same thing, right? What does someone experience when they're going through one of these? How do you know? What's the telltale signs? Well, when someone gets an infection around their anus, just like if you were to get an infection on your face, it starts to swell, it starts to get red, it starts to, most of all, get really painful. And while your face may be a very sensitive area, think about it on your anus. It is 100 times more sensitive than any other place in your body, okay? And your brain has a big map for your genital regions and your anus. And so that signal is loud as ever. And it is certainly like a code red, really a loud and ugly distress call. And it starts out small at first because, you know, it's just starting to grow on you. And you might be thinking, you know, something today, you know, I just can't sit right. You know, this chair just doesn't feel the same that it used to. You know, you may wipe back there, you say, you know what, something just feels a little bit off. Well, that starts to continue to crescendo and get sharper and stronger. And soon you're thinking, gosh, there is something I feel back there. You know, when I touch it, it hurts now. And oh yeah, there's definitely something not good going on there. And you know, I'm a little bit concerned. At about day 3, day 4, that pain has multiplied, okay? To the point where you're saying, I can't sit at home with this anymore. I need to find somebody now. And you're just going through Yelp, you're going through Google, who can help me with my butthole? Who can help me? I've got terrible pain here. And if you can't get in to see anybody, if you don't find anyone, where are you going? Urgent care, ER, anybody, anyone, right? Because it's a desperate time. And so I wanted to talk about this issue because it certainly is very distressing and there isn't any good information out there. And so let me explain to you using my old-fashioned artistry skills, right? I know you love my drawings, and so let me explain things to you. Okay, so now we have my famous picture of the bottom end, okay? And if I were to orient you, you've got your buttocks here, you have your anus, about 3 to 5 centimeters long, connected to the intestine or the rectum, and this is where the poop is stored. The outside lines here, this is referring to the anal muscles, and the outside muscle is the one you have control of for squeezing, right? And then the internal muscle is under unconscious control, but that's all functions together to control your bowel movements. So where does this story begin with these abscesses? And by the way, abscess means a pocket of pus or a pocket of infection. There are glands inside of our anus, and they're lined up along a structure called the dentate line, which for all intensive purposes is not that important, but know that this is a structure that everybody is born with, and these secrete mucus, supposedly to lubricate our bottom ends, the anus. And when these glands get clogged up, the mucus gets stuck inside, and it then creates an infection. Sort of like a pimple. If the pimple pore gets clogged, well then you start to grow pus inside and then you develop a pimple and then a whitehead, etc. Right? So let's say that this gland decided to get clogged up. Well, what happens next is you start to develop an infection. And so you start to get the bacteria to collect together. The body comes in with the immune system and wants to fight the bacteria that's starting to develop here. And eventually, enough of that fluid gets together and creates an abscess. So if you can imagine, this ball here is full of pus and it's liquid in here, filled with some blood, some brown stuff, white stuff, milky, not so great stuff. Well, with time, this infection over the next few days will start to grow and grow until it gets close to the skin surface like it has here. And so now this pus pocket is many times larger over the course of 3-4 days. It's really amazing how quickly this guy can grow. On the skin surface here, you're going to note that the skin is getting thicker, maybe even more like rubber texture. It's tender and it's sore. So what happens here? The skin starts to swell up like this. And some people will get a whitehead when it gets that close to the surface of the skin. If you're lucky, this pus pocket will drain out by itself just like a pimple can. But if it doesn't, then the skin will hold this infection underneath, and it will need a procedure to open the skin up so that this infection can drain out. So what's inside here? What is composed? Well, we talked about the liquid, but the organisms, the bacteria that live here, is from the stool. And so the stool bacteria feed this infection, and then that is what comes out if you were to have this drained. Is the draining procedure what's recommended? Is that really the best way? Well, if you've got a pocket here, it's not going to be relieved by itself with a whitehead, then yes, I do recommend you get a procedure done. Your body will tell you though if that's something that needs to be done, because if this were to keep going and you never did develop a whitehead, well, this guy can keep growing bigger and bigger underneath. People that are diabetic will get a big infection. In fact, it can spread so rampantly that it can be life-threatening even. The bacteria here can also enter the bloodstream as well and enter in other parts of our bodies. And that's what we call a condition called septic shock or sepsis, right? And that is something that requires a hospitalization, hospital stay. And so we definitely don't want to get ourselves to be that sick, but the most routine cases, routine situations, when it's just a very small guy and he's just in our bottom ends right here, localized as we like to call it, or it's just near the anus like this, usually there's very minimal bacteria going into our bloodstream that can make us really ill, and when we drain it, the situation is then controlled. The surgeon will also prescribe antibiotics, and that's extremely important as well to control the infection surrounding this region, to allow the body to repair itself and heal, so that also this bacteria doesn't travel to other parts of our body and win the war of the infection. We want to kill the bacteria immediately so that we can have our immune system take care of the healing process and move on with our life. So I hope you enjoyed my artist skills there, but more importantly, I hope you gathered some understanding of what it's like to live with an abscess or an infection in your bottom end, and are empowered with the information as to what can happen and what the initial treatment should be. There are more future videos coming on this topic. I definitely want to talk to you about What happens after you have an infection lanced or cut open? What is an anal fistula? And those are the types of things I want to get into next. But that's it for now for this video. I thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.